Anasema mimi ndo namuua mama yake, baba yake. Mimi ndo namuua. Na yeye leo ikipelekwa kwangu ati yeye atakufa.
Controversial preacher David Owor's followers are angry and hardly tolerant. Plus, going after the masterminds of the Westgate Mall attack. 3 suspects have a case to answer. And Harseen was joining a circle against the will of her police officer boyfriend.
Akachukua meza ilikuwa hapo, akanigonga na hiyo meza. Wenye alinigonga meza akachukua glass. Akanigonga na hiyo glass, ikagonga meza, ikamrudia.
Ata make sure hakuna mtu anaandika statement, mwenye anaandika statement anakula buduki.
He is still at large.
NTV Tonight with Zeynab Ismail.
My sign language co-pilot this evening is Flora Atieno. Now, contradictory positions have been taken on the news that the government offered Kenya's assets as collateral for the Chinese loan to build the standard gauge railway. While a senior government official familiar with the contract views it as nothing out of the ordinary, some economists view it as highly irregular. But if the financing agreement entered into by Kenya and China for the SGR really is as innocuous as some government officials claim, then why hasn't an official position been taken on the clarification sought? And why 2 weeks later hasn't President Kenyatta's administration made good on his promise to make the contract available for scrutiny? Olive Barrows reports.
To all Kenyans who are watching us and to this committee, that in procurement law, there is nothing like government to government.
Questions surrounding the cost of the standard gauge railway and the due diligence carried out by government prior to its construction have dogged the project from early on. As things stand, the heads of the National Land Commission and the Kenya Railways Corporation are facing charges in court over irregular compensation made for railway reserve land. And now, scrutiny on the financing agreement entered into by Kenya and China for the first phase from Mombasa to Nairobi has revealed that Kenya offered as security its sovereign assets, despite the head of state being adamant that the Mombasa port is safe from Chinese takeover.
We got people worried that there's some public assets that would be put up against the said loan for the SGR.
But
just to close, yes.
I have said, Bwana Masai.
Yes.
Right? Do you want a copy of the contract?
Yes, and that's what I wanted to say, to ask.
Do you want a copy?
Yes, I do.
I will give it to you.
And Kenyans as well, just so that...
Yes. I thought through you, you will pass it on.
Yes, to publicize it, not just to have it to me. Because people want to have it.
Uniambie kwa hiyo contract ni pahali gani?
Nipe tafadhali.
Nitakupatia. Ni mali yako jameni, wewe si Mkenya.
2 weeks and counting, and the said contract remains elusive. In an expose, however, the Sunday Nation revealed that as a standard practice, the contract contains a confidentiality clause. What wasn't quite so clear-cut is the provision in the contract that required Kenya to waive all claim of immunity over its assets on sovereign grounds. And while the implications legitimize the concern for the port of Mombasa, some state officers have sought to downplay the provision as run-of-the-mill. Among them, the Cabinet Secretary for the East African Community, Aden Mohammed. Several economists are, however, not buying it, viewing the concession as highly irregular. It is not even practical to attach national assets as a loan collateral. Sovereign guarantees are usually sufficient to cover for loans borrowed by governments. Those are the thoughts of a Nairobi-based economic analyst who sought to remain unnamed. And no explanation has been put forth on another contentious provision on disputes that dictates that they be placed before the China International Economic and Trade Arbitration Commission in Beijing under Chinese law and with no option for appeal. A dictate viewed by the experts as unconventional. Speaking to the Nation, cross-border commercial contract specialist Shitul Shah explained that normally you would need an independent arbitrator because this is about mediation, which should be made neutral and impartial by all means. Specifying the mediator and the neutral ground to carry out the mediation is suspect. Reporting for NTV, I'm Olive Barrows.
All right, and away from that, the Holiness and Repentance Ministry associated with controversial preacher David Owor now claims that their member, Evelyn Odwor, had acted in the best interest of her student, Khadija, saying she was allegedly being abused by her family. Khadija Mohammed, who had been missing for close to 5 months now, was found at the Ruai Girls Secondary School, where she was picked up by police last night. Investigations have been launched to determine whether the 16-year-old is at risk before a court of law can determine her fate. Charity Mwangi reports on the incident that has attracted harsh criticism from the members of Owor's congregation.
Early Monday morning at the Huruma police station, Evelyn Odwor, who is said to be the teacher and alleged abductor of the previously missing girl Khadija Mohammed, was brought to the station. In an off-camera explanation, the Senior Deputy Archbishop of the Repentance and Holiness Ministry, retired Major General George Chaka, told NTV that the girl's life was in danger, prompting teacher Evelyn to take her in.
Kwa serikali ingeenda kwa chief, ingeandikisha mimi mtoto fulani niko naye. Si vizuri kuaject mtoto yangu. Nilikuwa na mawazo, nilikuwa nafikiria mtoto haiko hai.
This, he said, happened with the full knowledge of the ministry's management. Khadija was on Sunday night taken from the Ruai Girls Secondary School by her family in the company of police officers. The family says that her name had been changed and she was in the school's full uniform when they found her.
Msichana jina yake imebadilishwa ikapelekwa Samantha Madhua, kitu kama hiyo. Ndio sasa wali baptize venye walisema, akafanya Mkristo.
The 16-year-old has now been placed under protective custody amidst claims that her guardians were abusing her. The followers of the controversial preacher David Owor and co-congregants with teacher Evelyn took to social media seeking to explain why the teacher had allegedly taken the girl without the knowledge of her guardians. They also shared a video where the girl appeared to be walking with some difficulty. They alleged that her guardian had been beating her to the extent of injuring her kidney. While in custody, the family claims that the girl has been brainwashed to the point of lying to authorities that she is an orphan and has refused to in any way engage with the people claiming to be her guardians. They add that she alleged that the family had killed her father for failing to convince her to denounce her newfound faith.
Anasema mimi ndo namuua mama yake, baba yake. Mimi ndo naua. Na yeye leo ikipelekwa kwangu ati yeye atakufa. Manake mimi nitaua yeye, manake nimeua baba yake na mama yake. Hiyo ni story rongo.
Na wazazi yake yuko hai, hakuna yote ambaye amekufa. Na ukichukua mtoto ya mtu lazima ushukue kwa sheria. Kama hujashukua kwa sheria, you are criminal.
Khadija's family has denied all the allegations, saying that Khadija has been well cared for. Their claims were backed by the proprietor of the Angels of Mercy School, where Khadija met teacher Evelyn. She claims that Evelyn had abused her role as a guidance and counseling teacher in charge of the Christian Union to indoctrinate girls, which is against the school's policy.
There was no complaint about her being bruised or tortured. There was nothing like that. She's supposed to report to the office, and then we call the parents, we discuss about the issue. If it goes out of hand, we report to the police station, and then the police take the case from there.
Investigations have been launched by the Directorate of Criminal Investigations. These are expected to inform the case against the alleged kidnapper and also determine whether Khadija is safe and free to exercise her new faith.
Behind me is the school where Khadija was allegedly admitted without the consent of her parents. Our efforts to get comment from the administration on how this could have happened was met with some degree of resistance. Charity Mwangi, NTV.
All right, now listen to this. His mantra is see no evil, hear no evil, especially when it touches on matters of the Ministry of Repentance and Holiness. Dr. David Owor, the self-proclaimed mightiest prophet of the Lord, thrives in controversy and questionable miracles, has unleashed his social media warriors on NTV after we aired the story on the disappearance of a 16-year-old girl who was allegedly taken by one of his congregants. Immediately the story ran last night. All manner of attacks followed in a war waged on social media by those who subscribe to Awar's ministry. NTV went through some of them and reports that tolerance seems to be an alien world to the repentance champion who also preaches forgiveness.
A family engulfed in worry.
Minutes after the story of Hadija Mohammed, who had been missing, was aired, social media played host to a barrage of attacks directed at NTV and specifically at the reporter on the story, Charity Mwangi. She was castigated and NTV labeled fake news outlet. Most hit was on Twitter, where hashtag NTV Fake News Again was quickly coined, and a number of individuals who in the past have also been involved in such a campaign utilized the opportunity to throw jabs at NTV and the reporter. The concern, which ultimately got lost in the attacks, was that the girl, who we had reported as having denounced Islam and converted to Christianity, was not missing. According to Awards followers, she was rescued by one of them after she was physically assaulted by a member of her family. The keyboard mercenaries also indicated that the girl was in school. The manner in which they went after NTV has exposed Awar and his congregants at large as intolerant. Before we go on radio, this is his fashion and style of dealing with those who dare see evil in anything associated with his ministry. He is ruthless and does not take criticism kindly. Neither does he allow anyone to poke holes at his ministry. This recent case is not the only one. Other media outlets that have dared report tales and turns that are not favorable to the preacher or his ministry have been treated to the harshness and attacks that are pushed online and offline, seeking to paint them as falsehood and void of credibility. In one of the videos posted online, Awar is captured attempting to incline a member of his congregation to accept that there are two of him on the pulpit. He repeatedly implores the worshipper to recognize him as such.
There are two. There are two. Yes, there are two. And you address them appropriately. Actually, one, if you look around, one is taller than the other. Yes, there are two. Be very careful.
Awar's intolerance is also exhibited in the number of lawsuits he has filed against individuals. He never shies away from taking his detractors to court and prosecuting them to the end. He is also never afraid of severing ties with individuals and organizations that stand on his way.
Let me go. Yes. The President of the Republic of Kenya has sent me a helicopter.
The once humble street preacher who wore oversized clothes and shaved his chin clean now dons white attire at public functions he attends. Once in a while, he shops for his clothes along Kimathi Street and often brings business to a standstill anytime his fleet of luxury vehicles come to town.
All right, and moving away from that, 3 suspects accused of masterminding the deadly Westgate Mall attack in 2013 have a case to answer. The trial started today over the mall siege that was claimed by the Somali-based terror group Al-Shabaab. A Nairobi court freed a 4th suspect as trial began over the mall siege that claimed the lives of 67 people, leaving several wounded and spinning the wheels of justice for 6 years. NTV's Dennis Okari with that story.
Ahmed Abdi, Liban Omar and Hussein Mustafa were put on the defense by Nairobi Chief Magistrate Francis Andai. However, Aidan Deg was released shortly after the charges were read against the other 3. The 4 had been jointly and separately charged with conspiracy to commit a terrorist act, among other charges. The court was interested in digging through evidence of the scene of crime, statements of forensic personnel who photographed the gory aftermath of the terrorist attack, and witnesses listed to testify on the events of the siege. Mohammed Ahmed Abdi, Liban Abdullah Omar, Aidan Mohammed Dek and Hussein Hassan Mustafa were charged with assisting the terrorists who attacked the mall in carrying out the raid on September 21, 2013. They have been in custody since October 2013 after they were arrested and charged with various counts of terrorism. The prosecution has pegged its case on the strength of mobile phone data that showed the four were in contact with callers believed to have been at the mall shortly before and during the attack. Police officers who trailed the four have recounted in court how a manhunt ensued following the attack and how the suspects' movements were monitored through a mobile phone tracking system and a forensic analysis of the seized exhibits. The prosecution has since preferred additional charges of joint conspiracy to carry out a terrorism act. One of the suspects, Liban Omar, faced 2 additional charges of being a member of the Al-Shabaab and being found in possession of Al-Shabaab training videos. The case will be mentioned on January 21st. Dennis Okari, NTV.
All right, and away from that, it is now an almost all-male affair at the Council of Governors after the only female contestant for the position of chair, Anne Waiguru, was defeated at the elections, with Kakamega Governor Wycliffe Oparanya succeeding Josephat Nanok. The other lady in the council, Bomet Governor Joyce Laboso, clinched the chairperson of the Education Committee, while Kitui Governor Charity Ngilu did not get a position. Our political affairs reporter Kennedy Mureithi reports on the governor's elections that have seen new faces ascend to the council's leadership.
After a council meeting that lasted almost the whole day, culminating in elections, they emerged from the meeting ready to deliver the news to the waiting press. And dignitaries who had been invited to preside over the function.
The chairperson is His Excellency Wycliffe Ambesa Oparanya. The vice chair is His Excellency Mwangi Wairia. And the chief whip is His Excellency Honorable Professor Kibutha Kibwana.
Intrigues and behind-the-scene lobbying led to the outcome announced today, as NTV is informed. The governors were keen on ensuring that those who will be given the mantle to head the council will not be swayed by the politics of the day, and neither will they be easily forced into submission by the government. According to a source in the meeting, there is a feeling that the council had ceded ground to the national government on many issues. They agreed their head to be changed.
We are very proud that we have an opportunity to govern our resources. We have our fair share of the cake. And I want to say that having been in the office for that 1-year period, I have seen it is indeed working, and it is the only way that is going to let Kenya move to greater heights.
At the start of the polls, 6 governors had shown interest. The outgoing chairman Turkana Governor Josephat Nanok, the outgoing vice chairperson Kirinyaga Governor Anne Waiguru, Kwale Governor Salim Mvurya, Kisumu Governor Anyang' Nyong'o, Uasin Gishu Governor Jackson Mandagod, and the new chairman Kakamega Governor Wycliffe Oparanya. Oparanya went into the contest having won support from a majority of the 14 counties that make up the Lake Region Economic Bloc, and having served as the Minister for Planning during the 2009 census. A new census is due later this year. The question of economic blocs and local regional politics played a key role in the elections, with those in attendance either voting to oust those in positions or vote for a new crop. The question of gender in the new executive committee has also come into focus, with only one of them making the cut. Apart from Kirinyaga Governor Anne Waiguru, who was gunning for the chairperson position, Kitui Governor Charity Ngilu was left in the cold. Governor Nanok says the team he led did an excellent job and adhered to its mandate.
As I vacate office alongside my 2 colleagues who are members of the executive, we vacate office on a higher note, having delivered on the assignment the governors gave us, which is that of close collaboration on matters service delivery. We have not let the governors down during our tenure.
The new executive committee will also have Bungoma Governor Wycliffe Wangamati chairing the Finance, Planning, Economic Affairs and ICT Committee, Kisii Governor James Ongwae chairing the Human Resource, Labour and Social Welfare Committee, Kericho Governor Paul Chepkwony chairing the Gender, Youth, Sports, Culture and Social Services Committee, Bomet Governor Joyce Laboso chairing the Education Committee, Embu Governor Martin Wambora chairing the Trade, Investment, Manufacturing and Cooperatives Committee, Isiolo Governor Mohamed Kuti chairing the Health Committee, Tharaka Nithi Governor Muthomi Njuki chairing the Agriculture Committee, Samburu Governor Moses Lenol Kulal taking over as the chairperson of the arid and semi-arid areas, Kilifi Governor Amason Kingi taking over as the Legal Affairs Chairperson, Narok Governor Samuel Oletunai also chairing the Tourism and National Resources Committee, while Nakuru Governor Leil Kinyanjui becoming the new chair of the Urban Planning, Housing and Infrastructure Committee. Kennedy Muredi, NTV.
All right, and that report there by Kennedy Muredi brings us to the close of our first segment here on NTV Tonight. We have a lot lined up for you. Let's stay tuned. We're glad you could stay with us. Now, Chief Justice David Maraga has once again defended the judiciary against accusations that it is the limping foot in the war on graft. He has in turn accused the office of the DPP and the DCI of presenting weak cases in court, even as the Attorney General added his voice to those hitting at the slow pace of court processes. This was during the swearing-in of Talib Abdallah Mbarak as the Chief Executive Officer of the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, where he promised to make corruption an expensive affair.
Out goes Wako, in comes Mbarak.
I, Talib Abdallah Mbarak.
This revolving door at the Integrity Center is where Talib Mbarak will be coming in and out of as he starts his new job as the EACC CEO. He comes in at a time where the government has just intensified the war against corruption, and with EACC being the multi-agency which is tasked with fighting the vice, he's definitely in for a tough job.
There is need to ensure expeditious completion of investigation. I intend to review the current process and unblock any procedural bottlenecks that prevent us from working effectively.
His predecessor, whose tenure has been marked by allegations of ineffectiveness and operational challenges, was optimistic that Mbarak could make a significant impact at the anti-graft body. The war on graft is a multi-agency fight. The judiciary has in a number of occasions been accused of being the weak link, with the executive being a key voice in this. This has often put the executive and the judiciary on collusion paths.
I say here, Honourable Chief Justice, the expectations of Kenyans has not been fulfilled. From the prosecutors, starting with the investigators, half the battle is shoddy jobs in investigation, which makes it more difficult for the prosecution, and in cases make it impossible for the courts to.
The length of time a case takes in court has many times been decried despite efforts to speed them up. However, the CJ, while admitting to some challenges, stood his ground that the investigating agencies are part of the problem.
I was counsel to an accused person in a case that started in the year 1993 when we were both in private practice. And I defended that case and appointed a judge 10 years later. And I worked here for 16 years. And that case continues even today. That cannot be.
All the players have to do their part. And I'm happy the DPPC and the DCI. Please bring cases to court when you are ready. If we ask you to start the hearing the following day, depending on whether the accused will have been given an opportunity to prepare, you will be ready to proceed.
Lillian Kiarie, NTV.
After several false starts, the consolidated case involving theft of millions of the National Youth Service funds has finally commenced. The prosecution and the defense made opening statements before Principal Magistrate Peter Ooko, paving the way for the first witness lined up by the prosecution. And to visit Seth Olale with the details.
In her opening remarks, Principal Prosecutor Vera Hamisi Omolo outlined the 10 charges facing the 33 accused persons in the 60.5 million shillings NYS graft case. The charges include conspiracy to commit an offence of economic crime, abuse of office, willful failure to comply with applicable procedures and guidelines relating to management of public funds, neglect of official duties, fraudulent making payments, breach of trust, making documents without authority, uttering false documents, false accounting, and fraudulent acquisition of public property. The prosecution told the court that it shall demonstrate that the acts and omissions were not just negligent but well-calculated schemes to siphon public funds. The prosecution told the court that it will rely on primary evidence, expert witnesses, graphs and electronic evidence to prove charges against the accused persons.
Division is to...
The defense team, led by lawyer Stephen Liguna, representing former Principal Secretary Youth Affairs Lilian Omolo, and Migos Ogamba, told the court that they shall prove that the accused are victims whose career and lifestyles have been jeopardized by the prosecution.
Your Honor, the defense will establish that this is a fabrication. The charges are fabricated. They are speculative. They are generic and only intended to embarrass.
The first prosecution witness, Joyce Namusi, an assistant director at the State Department of Public Works, narrated to the court how the tendering process in the public service ought to be done.
Ministerial Tender Committee is in agreement with the recommendation made by the Evaluation Committee. It will forward it to the accounting officer for further processing.
The hearing resumes Tuesday. Other than Joyce Namusi, the prosecution has lined up at least 20 witnesses in the NYS case involving the loss of 60.5 million shillings, which implicates 33 accused persons, including former Principal Secretary Youth Affairs Lilian Omolo. Seth Olale, NTV, Milimani Lokots.
All right, now in yet another incident of domestic violence, an administration police officer allegedly beat his lover severely, stabbing her and throwing objects at her. Hassin was joining a SACCO and seeking to advance herself against his wishes. Now she is nursing injuries at a hospital in Thika. The suspect has gone into hiding as police officers launch a manhunt.
Gladys Mudhini lies on her hospital bed in pain that goes deeper than physical. This was after an attack that almost cost her life. Her lover, a 30-year-old administration police enforcer, Andrew Edwin Mokaya, pounced on her. This was because she sought to advance herself by joining a SACCO.
Nilikuwa nimetoa nguo zangu na za watoto niwatayarishe waende Sunday school, mimi niende azima. Akaniuliza anaenda, akakuja. Mwenye alikuja akabisha mlango, nikamfungulia akaingia. Akakaa kwa kiti. Akaniuliza unaenda wapi? Hizi nguo umetoanisha hapo, unaenda wapi? Nikamwambia naenda azima. Si nilikukataza mambo ya chama staki.
Mudhini, who works as a sales lady in a processing company in Thika, says she has 2 children with Mokaya, though they are not formally married, decided to join the SACCO so as to take a loan to cushion her family against the financial strain they have been experiencing.
Akanigonga hapa slap. Mwenye alinigonga slap hapa, nikamuuliza kwa nini unanigonga hivyo? Akarudi akanirusha na mateke, akaniangusha chini, akanichukua juu hivi, akanigongesha chini tena, akaniinua juu tena, akanigongesha chini, akachukua meza ilikuwa hapo, akanigonga na hiyo meza. Mwenye alinigonga meza akachukua glass, akanigonga na hiyo glass, ikagonga meza, ikamurudia.
The distressed woman was forced to transfer from Thika Level 5 hospital to a private hospital for security purposes.
Nilikuwa nimepata amepigia one of my cousins, amewapigia simu akawaambia mwenye ataandika statement yote ata make sure hakuna mtu anaandika statement, mwenye anaandika statement anakula buduki. So ilibidi sasa wakati nilisikia hiyo maneno ile hospitali alikuwa amepelekwa dini after hiyo tukaficha hospitali ni ako wapi.
The perpetrator is still at large. According to Gatanga OCPD Beatrice Kiraguri, who spoke through phone, investigation on the incident are underway. Eunice Omolo, NTV.
All right, and at this point, we're taking a very short break here on NTV tonight. When we come back, we'll be bringing you all the day's business news.
Good evening, and let's get down to business. My name is Dan Mwangi. Now, the Energy Regulatory Commission has announced new pump prices to be used for the next month, with the prices of super petrol and diesel both reducing by more than 9 shillings a litre. Super petrol decreases by 9 shillings and 33 cents to retail at 104 shillings and 21 cents in Nairobi. Diesel will now sell in the capital at 102.24, which is a 10 shillings and 4 cents drop. Kerosene users are set to pay 3 shillings and 52 cents more for every litre at 101.70 in the capital. The significant reductions have come as a result of the average landed cost of imported super petrol and diesel decreasing by more than 14% in the period from November to December 2018. During the same period, the exchange rate between the US dollar and the Kenya shilling appreciated marginally by 0.27% from 102.44 in November to 102.16 units in December. Lake Turkana Wind has this morning revealed that it has connected 307 megawatts of electricity to the national grid in a move set to stabilize power output in the country and hopefully reduce power costs. The wind power project, which is the largest of its kind in Africa, says as at 8:23 a.m. today, it had injected 307 megawatts of clean energy into Kenya Power, terming this an incredible achievement. The 80 billion shilling project has taken over 10 years to complete and is running on 365 turbines. Now, some sugarcane farmers have accused the government of sidelining them in the ongoing discussions to reform the sector. The farmers, who have formed a parallel task force to present their views to President Uhuru Kenyatta, vowed that any attempts to sneak in zoning in the sugar regulation are going to be kicked out. Oko Kusa reports.
In their hundreds, they march to the Prosperity House, where a task force, recently formed by Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Mwangi Kiunjuri, sits. They accused the CS of establishing a 16-member team without consulting them.
Kama una shamba unawakilisha nini? No. Kama mila za serikali zinaanguka, MDs ndio wanasimamia, watafanya nini? Wanachukua wale failures ndio wanakuja kuwakilisha sisi. We are not party to that. Tunataka uwakilishe sawa sawa.
The farmers who presented their petition to Governor Anyang' Nyong'o's office picked former chairman of the defunct Kenya Sugar Board, Saulo Busolo, to spearhead the parallel outfit.
Tupenda kujitetea sisi wenyewe, sababu kwenye task force chopakasi lililopo la serikali kwa wakati huu hatujawakilishwa, na kwa vile hatujawakilishwa, sisi sasa tumejitenga, tujitetee sisi wenyewe, tuandike maoni yetu. Kwa Kiingereza wanasema the shoe knows who the wearer is. It pinches the wearer.
The farmers warned that any attempts to dictate to them on where to sell their cane would amount to a breach of the constitution and an insult to the establishment of Lake Region Economic Bloc, whose objective is to open up trade to member counties.
Hatutaki zoning kabisa completely. Hatutaki ukabila, zoning inaleta ukabila Kenya, na hatutaki, sisi ni wa Kenya, tunataka kuwa kitu kimoja.
The government-formed task force is scheduled to conduct public participation forums beginning January 16th to 18th in Kisumu, Homa Bay, Migori, Busia, Kakamega, Bungoma, Kericho, Kisii, and Narok.
As the task force goes round, we are only going to entertain them on issues of our money, nothing else. Either they are bringing money ama wakae hapa prosperity. Sisi tunataka pesa, kuna kitu kingine.
Ouko Kusa, NTV.
Well, the shoe knows who the wearer is, but also the wearer of the shoes know where it pinches most. Consumers should expect prices to remain stable in 2019, boding well for household budgets in the 11 months ahead. According to the draft budget policy statement for 2019, this view is anchored in favorable agricultural productivity, the downward revision of electricity tariffs, and low commodity prices in the global market. Electricity tariffs were reviewed downwards in October 2018 following a directive from President Uhuru Kenyatta aimed at supporting small and medium-sized enterprises. This view of stable prices has also been echoed by a section of analysts. The Kenya Urban Roads Authority, that's KURA, has substantially handed over a number of roads in Eldoret town to the Uasin Gishu County as the town prepares to upgrade into a city. The Uasin Gishu County has been working to acquire a charter in line with the Urban Areas and Cities Act and says expanding the road network is a crucial part of the process.
The upgrading of the old Nairobi Road has no doubt brought the much-needed facelift to Eldoret town. Kura has substantially handed the road to the county government of Uasin Gishu for use, following 90% completion.
This road has taken us 18 months. The whole project is around over 700 million. All I can say is that it has been completed in time.
Provision of infrastructural facilities such as this road were crucial as the county works to upgrade Eldoret into a city.
We are the fastest growing city in the town in Kenya, and as we aspire to the city status, there are certain features that are normally needed for a city, good communication. We also hope that they will continue supporting us.
Bishop Mugerod is yet another eye-catching infrastructure in Eldoret town. Previously, this stretch of road was a muddy stretch. Now it has opened access to Elgon View, Malel and Kapseret estates, while serving to also decongest the Eldoret-Kisumu Highway too.
The drainage aspect, we have invested a lot in drainage because we understand that if you just do the carriageway and don't do the drainage, then you'll compromise the integrity of the carriageway and maintenance will be high.
Away from such improvements in infrastructure, the input of residents of Eldoret town on their vision for the town will also be considered before Eldoret is granted a city status. Lois Wangoi, NTV Business, Eldoret.
Business around Biashara Street in Nairobi's central business district today was brought to a standstill after irate members of Keza Saving and Credit Cooperatives held demonstrations accusing the SACCO of failing to return their savings. The members say every time they made withdrawals on their accounts, they did not receive the withdrawn money and that the SACCO managers offered no explanations on the whereabouts of the money. They accuse the managers of theft and mismanagement as they keep getting convoluted excuses over where their money went. Police were being forced to lob tear gas to disperse the protesters and the business along the street running again. Our efforts to talk to the SACCO managers did not bear fruit.
Tunataka tu waturudishie pesa zetu kwa maana kitu tumechoka, tumetoka miaka miwili. Kwa hivyo akiturudishia sisi hatuna shida.
Kwa document amesema unapaswa kurudishiwa pesa yako within 60 working days. Lakini tumepigana. Kuna wengine bado walijaza pesa warudishiwe 2017.
Time to take stock of the stock market and see how your money is behaving. And we begin with the Nairobi Securities Exchange as always. And the NSE 20 share index is the first parameter we're going to be looking at. And it was trading at 27,743. That's the previous trading period. That's on Friday, but has moved up to 2809.16. NSE all share index also rose, the same as market capitalization, slightly up from 2.1 trillion to 2.18. And we have bonds moving from 1.4 billion to 1.2 billion. That's a slight drop as opposed to the rest. The movers today, Safaricom moved 22 million shares, and that's the largest. And the next is below a million shares. And that's KCB at 639,000, ICDC at 524,300, and Bamburi Cement at 429,000 shares moved today. Now look at the biggest gainers of the day, and Limuru Tea Company Limited is the biggest gainer, 10% increase at 550 shillings per share, followed by Kai & General, Trans Century and Olympia Capital, which at 328 per share is up 4.8%. Now looking at the other side of the scale in the red, we have Uchumi Supermarkets down 5.75% at less than a shilling per share. That's 0.82, that's 82 cents rather. Eveready East Africa down 3.09%. Home Africa down 2.86%. All three of those are trading at less than a shilling per share. And National Bank at 5 shillings and 32 cents is down 2.56%. And so we see some of the companies that have been struggling are still not doing too well. The US dollar is at 101.7, a very marginal change from Friday's level. We have the sterling pounds average at 130.5 from 129.8. And the euro is at 117.3 from 117.4, which was the average according to the Central Bank of Kenya on Friday. And the South African rand is unmoved at 7.3. The Tanzanian shilling at 22.9 unmoved as well. Ugandan shilling still unmoved at 36.5, and the Rwandese franc 8.8. That's Friday and Monday. And we see all the African currencies have remained unmoved in regards to their trading with Kenya. That's it for business. We're all done. Good night.
Staying with us now, two suspects in the murder of 76-year-old man who denied their livestock to graze on his land have been denied bond. Senior Resident Magistrate Betty Koech ordered the suspects to be detained for 7 more days to allow for more investigations. His neighbor Suleiman Chiwor and his 2 sons set out after the old man in Kikonde village, Kilifi. Josephat Karuga succumbed to his injuries while receiving treatment in a Mombasa hospital after hours of being in the intensive care unit. The second son, who is also a suspect, is still at large. The case will be heard on the 21st of January. Now, no arrests have been made so far following the fatal shooting of a man and his 3-year-old daughter, allegedly by police officers, as they slept in their house at Chepchoina village in Trans Nzoia County. Police have accused political leaders from West Pokot of incitement and interfering with investigations over the murder. Kwanza OCPD Shadrack Ruto says police are having a difficult time undertaking investigations due to the political mood created by leaders, accusing the police of extrajudicial killing. All right. Now, a teacher has been arraigned in Molo for allegedly defiling and impregnating a 14-year-old girl who was his pupil last year. 59-year-old David Langat, a teacher at Tembo Primary School in Keringet Sub-County, is said to have defiled the minor as she went to collect her KCPE results. The suspect allegedly lured the girl into a lodging where he committed the heinous act. This was revealed after the girl started showing signs of pregnancy and accused the teacher of being responsible for it. However, appearing before Senior Resident Magistrate Rhoda Yetor, the suspect denied the charge and was not granted bail. He has been remanded until the 21st of January. All right, and we take another short break. When we come back, Brian Atwal brings us all the sporting action.
not well. Gor Mahia head coach Hassan Oktay believes his team will seal qualification to the CAF Confederation Cup group stage after picking a slim 2-1 lead against Cameroon's New Stade Douala in the first leg of the elimination stage at the Kasarani Stadium. The Kenyan champions need to avoid a defeat or force a scoring draw to book a slot in the group stage whose participants pocket 27 million shillings. Meanwhile, a section of home supporters are not pleased at the Turkish coach tactical substitutions, openly booing the coach over his substitutions in Sunday's tie. Should Gor Mahia win or record a draw of any margin next on Sunday in Limbe, Cameroon, they will confirm their place in the group stage of the competition for the second successive year.
I believe we're good enough, we're strong enough to win it. They should worry. We're going to go there, we're going to dominate the game over there as well. This team, they play away games better than home games. We're going to go there to win it again.
And Mathare United's fine form continued as they saw off Tusker FC 2-1 to hold on to the lead in the matchday 7 of the Kenyan Premier League. The Slum Boys topped the standings with 17 points, 2 more than second-placed Bandari, who are also yet to record a loss this season. Western Steamers' winning run was halted by Kariobangi Sharks, who have not lost a match since this season, as well to remain in third place on 14 points. Tusker and Sharks complete the top 5 on 13 points each. At the bottom half, KCB collected their first win of the season after stunning AFC Leopards by a solitary goal to lie in 17th with 5 points. Mount Kenya United's woes continued as they remained bottom with 2 points, with Posta Rangers in 16th on 6 points. And Football Kenya Federation, in partnership with Inmates Premier League, kicked off a 10-day coaching course at the Committee Maximum Prison. The course has brought together 40 participants from a correctional facility, some of whom have played active football in the Kenyan Premier League and National Super League. The initiative is part of the Federation's long-term football development agenda, which has seen over 2,000 coaches benefit from the coaching education. The course will see participants taken through basic coaching under the tutelage of FKF instructor Leonard Odipo. They will duly be certified by the Federation's technical department upon completion of the course. And Telkom Kenya women's hockey team coach Jose Openda will no longer be in charge of the team. Openda, who will remain as a consultant with the team, has groomed 4 coaches who are likely to take over from him, among them former internationals Josephine Ataro, Rose Mbulo, Judy Apio and Jacqueline Otieno. Openda, who has been with Telkom for 16 years, has won the Kenyan Hockey Union Women's Premier League title with them 16 times, besides 8 Africa Club Championships crowns. Last year, Telkom reclaimed the continental title for a record 10th cup success, while the team remained unbeaten for the 6th consecutive year when lifting their 21st Premier League title. And Greg Snow returned a decent score of 1 under par 70 on round 2 of the Muthaiga leg of the Safari Tour Golf Series to take his total for the 2 rounds to 5 under par 137 to maintain the overall lead. On the first 9, he dropped shots at the first, second and 6th holes, but amends with birdies on the 7th and 8th holes for a total of 38. On the back 9, he hit birdies on the 10th, 11th, 17th and 18th, with a lone bogey on the 16th, taking his total to 32. Meanwhile, Windsor Golf and Country Club's David Opati returned an impressive score of 5 under par 66 for a total of 3 under par 139 for the 2 rounds to reclaim second place on the leaderboard and claim the day's lead going into round 3. And David De Gea could establish himself as the Manchester United's greatest goalkeeper, says interim manager Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. The Spaniard made 11 saves as United beat Tottenham 1-0 at Wembley. De Gea's 11 saves was his highest in a Premier League match, while also keeping a clean sheet, and helped United make it 6 wins from 6 under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer.
11 saves in the second half. No keeper, no other keeper.
That has fared very well against top 6 opposition so far this season, including earning a point in the reverse fixture. City are unbeaten in their last 34 home league games against promoted sides. They trail Liverpool by 7 points following the Reds' 1-0 win over Brighton on Saturday. Our sports moment of the weekend.
Raha iliyoje kwa Eliud Kipchoge, World Athlete of the Year, na sasa Safaricom Soya 2018 Sportsman of the Year, yani ameshinda home na away. Eliud Kipchoge mwenyewe. Safaricom Soya Sports Personality of the Year. Who is the winner?
Sports Personality of the Year is
Eliud Kipchoge. Eliud Kipchoge.
Well, that's the spot from our sporting desk. We play again tomorrow. But for now, you have any dry joke tonight?
Do you play soccer? Do you play football?
I used to.
Used to?
Yeah.
Not anymore?
No.
How do you light up a soccer field?
Put on the floodlights.
No, with a soccer match.
Okay.
You know, matchstick, but a match.
Okay.
Well,
Gosh, your dry joke. Anyway, that's from me, Brian O'Toole, from our sporting desk. We play again tomorrow, as I told you. And you?
All right, thank you so much, Brian. Well, that brings us to the end of our bulletin this evening. Our sign language interpreter this evening as well was Flora Atieno. Now, on Press Plus this evening, there have been a lot of questions on the SGR contract. Since the president promised to share that document, and Mark Masai will be leading that conversation, you do not want to miss that. My name is Zeynab Ismail. Good evening.